Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika Zen. I am Tamika, and this is what you should be watching, okay? So get on in here, y'all. Get on in here now. If this is your first time finding my channel, welcome, welcome to you. If you are coming back again, then welcome back. Glad to have you, all right? And this is what you should be watching, number 26. Now, guys, with what you should be watching, if you're not familiar, it's just basically me telling you some things that I think you may be interested in watching. I'm that friend that is always telling my friends and family members things they should be watching, right? And now I have decided to share it with you because you guys are my Tamika's Den family, all right? And so I'm trying to tell you guys some things. Now, you are a little bit harder to tell than my friends for the simple fact I know them, I know what they like, I know what they don't like, so I can kind of tell them, okay, you would like this, you would like that, right? Whereas here, I could have 50 to 100 people watching these videos, and everybody's going to like something different because art is subjective, right? And now I'm a person that likes a little bit of everything, so I do try to mix it up. I give you all genres, no specific order. Just some things that you may be able to choose from. So my hope is always that there's at least one thing on the list that you may be interested in. Now, I do usually do a movie breakdown at the beginning of the month that I tell you things that are coming out on streaming services and theaters for that month, right? Sometimes I put these in categories, but I don't have to. But you may hear me say sometimes, you know, if you were under a rock and you missed it, of course, out in theaters and streaming services coming soon, soon come. Currently watching that I think you should be watching, old school classics, favorites, and honorable mentions, guys, okay? And so that is how that goes, all right? So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, with this video today for what you should be watching, number 26, is going to be movie trilogies, right? Movie trilogy edition. So I'm focusing on all movie trilogies, right? Even though some of these might actually have more than 3 movies, guys, all right? It may be freaking TV shows, animations, but we ain't talking about that, okay? We are only focusing on the 3. So just in case if I say something that y'all may be like, but wait, there's more than 3 of those. I know, okay? But we only focusing on the 3. So my number 1 is Back to the Future, y'all. I don't care how old this gets. I don't care that some of it is cheesy and some of it, when I look at it now, I'm like, I still like it. Okay, it's one of those nostalgic ones. It's definitely an old school classic favorite. Now, I will say if I had to choose between favorite to least favorite, 1 would be my favorite. I think 3 would be my least favorite, right? And of course, with Back to the Future, this is an American science fiction comedy franchise that was created by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Hale. Of course, we have Michael J. Fox in here, along with Christopher Lloyd. And so that is definitely, you know, and this list is not in no order either. I just so happen to, you know, have this as number 1. Doesn't mean I think it's the best one or the least best one or anything like that. Now, moving along, we get number 2, The Matrix. All right. So, of course, we have The Matrix, we have The Matrix Reloaded, and we have Matrix Revolutions. Now, I think that Matrix Reloaded at the time was my least favorite. I kind of came to appreciate it a little bit more as time went on, right? And, of course, with this, these were the first, you know, the first 3 films were written and directed by Wachowski and produced by Joel Silver. Of course, it was starring Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. And again, I know that there's more than 3 of them, but I'm only focusing on the 3. Now, moving along, we are going to the Batman Trilogy, okay? And now, let me just say, even though I'm talking about the Dark Knight series, honey, I love me some Michael Keaton Batman as well. Let me just put it out there. I will watch those as well, you guys. Okay, most of these that I'm mentioning, I have on different electronic devices in my house. I have it on VCR, you know, VHS tapes. I have it on DVD. I have it on my external drive. I have it saved on my TV. So these are just kind of those ones that whether I see it on TV, whether I'm watching it on streaming, or I just get in the movie and I want to pick it out from anywhere, I have several different places that I can choose from to pick it out. So The Dark Knight is up there, right? And we have a series that, of course, all 3 coming from Christopher Nolan. The first one, Batman Begins, you know, then we had The Dark Knight, and of course The Dark Knight Rises. And of course this is with Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman was up in there as well. And I could rock with pretty much all of them and just watch them straight through, okay? Another one that I never get tired of, you could kind of put this under I'm sorry, y'all, old school classics favorites, is Indiana Jones, all right? This franchise, of course, was based on Dr. Henry Walton, you know, a.k.a. Indiana Jones Jr., all right? We had Raiders of the Lost Ark, then we had the prequel, sequel, Temple of Doom, and then we had the sequel, The Last Crusade. And so this was a collaboration with George Lucas and Harrison Ford. And of course, you know, Harrison Ford was playing Indiana Jones. And sometimes we had his, you know, father, Indiana Jones Sr., being played by Sean Connery. And so that is, you know what I'm saying, my number 4, y'all. My number 5 is Spider-Man, okay? My number 5 is Spider-Man. This is with Tobey Maguire, okay? Yes, I'm sorry, but that is going to always have a special place in my heart, even though I do like Tom Holland, and I'm into him now. But this is the nostalgia one, the kind of an old school classic favorite that I definitely have all 3 on DVD and, you know, saved on my external drive. Of course, this was directed by Sam Raimi. And we have William Dafoe in there, right? He came back recently, of course. Christian Dunst, James Franco, right? And, you know, Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. So, of course, that was Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. And that is my number 5. Now, if I had to say my favorite or least favorite out of them, favorite Spider-Man 1, least favorite, I believe, is Spider-Man 2. Now we are moving on along to number 6. The Mummy. I never get tired of this, and I like all 3, okay? And of course, they were in the Sahara Desert, you know, stumbling upon an ancient tomb that they ain't have no daggone business in. And these hunters set loose a 3,000-year-old legacy of terror that was embodied in a vengeful reincarnation of an Egyptian priest who had been basically sentenced to an eternity, you know, as one of the living dead. And they went and woke his behind up. And so this was directed by Stephen Sommers. And of course, we had Mr. Brandon Fraser and Rachel Weisz in here. And I thought about this recently when I was watching Moonlight, because it was certain parts of it that was reminding me of it. So The Mummy definitely goes on my list. Now, number 7 is the Bourne Trilogy. I could watch all of those, all right? And this franchise is, you know, basically consistent of action, thriller. You know, the installments are based on the character Jason Bourne, of course, who is played by Matt Damon. You know, we also had Julia Stiles in this, and, you know, I think they tried to turn this even into a TV show later or whatever, but I like all 3 of the movies, okay? Now, again, this is one that I know has more than 3, but we're only talking about the 3, and that is Die Hard, all right? And of course, Die Hard is a series originated with Roderick Thorpe's, you know, novel, Nothing Lasts Forever. And we had none other than Bruce Willis playing John McClane. And of course, you knew if John McClane came up to you, baby, your behind was not making it through. He was not having it, all right? And so, of course, we had Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard with a Vengeance is my least favorite, but I can still watch all 3 of them, all right? And so that is my number 8. Moving on down the road now. This is number 9, y'all. Rush Hour, okay? Now, all 3 films, you know, centered around a pair of police detectives. You had Chief Inspector Lee, okay, and you had James Carter. And this, of course, was played by Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, right? And so, you know, it surrounds them and their misadventures involving, you know, corrupt crime and trying to go after these damn people that's committing crime, y'all. So we had Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2, Rush Hour 3. I would say 1 is my favorite, but I can actually watch all of them, okay? Now, moving on along, we get to number 10, and number 10 is going to be Terminator, baby. And I know that it is more than 3 of those, okay? But I'm talking about the 3, all right? And so this was a franchise that was created by James Cameron and Gail Hurd. You know, a science fiction, action, comic novel, all of that good stuff. They tried to make a TV show out of that too, and I think they even had some type of cartoon that goes to show you the influence that they had with this. But I'm talking about the first three. I would say the first two are okay with me. I'm not that big of a fan of Terminator Rise of the Machines, if I'm being completely honest. You know, of course, they had like 3 other ones after that. And the last one that they did, James Cameron actually came back on board and did that one again. But he was only involved in like the first 2, and then they had other directors for all the other ones. So that is Terminator coming in at number 10. Now this one is Mexico, okay, and that is my number 11. And Mexico, if you're not familiar with it, American-Mexican contemporary Western film written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, okay. Antonio Banderas was playing up in here, baby, with my favorite one, okay, Desperado. But we actually, in order, is El Mariachi, Desperado, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, right? Desperado would be my number 1. Once Upon a Time in Mexico would be my number 2. And El Mariachi would be my number 3. But I can watch all of them, okay? Now, coming in at number 12, The Girl With Trilogy, okay? And so this is a psychological thriller, you guys. It was based on a novel by a Swedish author who was also a journalist named Stig Larsson, right? And it originally came out in 2005, but then it was translated to English in 2008. It also had a remake that had Daniel Craig in it, but I like all of the originals. And so we started this series off with The Girl with the Dragon's Tattoo being number 1, The Girl Who Played with Fire number 2, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest was number 3. So just in case you may not be familiar with those, you know what I'm saying, maybe you were under a rock and you missed it, I definitely would suggest that you check that out, okay? Now we are getting closer to the end, you guys, because like I said, this is going to be short, sweet, to the point. I wanted to keep it simple and laid back today, okay? So number 13, we are coming along with Star Wars, okay? And Star Wars, of course, had over freaking, I don't know how many different types of films, you know, TV show adaptations and everything else. But I'm talking about the first 3, okay, that was produced by Lucasfilms. And we had, of course, Star Wars, The Empire That Struck Back, Return of the Jedi. This was something else that Harrison Ford was in. I can remember my parents taking me to the movies to see this. So this is nostalgia. This is old school classics favorites for me, okay? And we had Mark Hamill, we had Billy D. Williams, and of course we had Carrie Fisher as, you know, Princess Leia, okay? Gotta make she rest in peace. And so that is my number 13. Now we get to number 14, Star Trek. And I know Star Trek had over 13 films. They also had TV shows. I don't consider myself a Trekkie. I have not seen everything. I did used to watch the show with my brother, okay? But I'm talking about the last 3 of the 13, the more recent ones that came along with J.J. Abrams directing, and it had Chris Pine in it. I think Winona Ryder was in one. Zoe Saldana was in there. And so, of course, we had Star Trek, then we had Star Trek Into Darkness, and then we had Star Trek Beyond. All right, and I'm going to end this off at number 15, you guys. This is not going to be on any critically acclaimed list, okay? And I don't go by the critics because some things they say is good, I don't like. Some things they say is bad, I do like, right? Art is subjective. We all like different things. And so this is definitely not going to come in on any critics list, but I think it's a hood classic, and that is Friday, all right? And of course, we had Ice Cube and DJ Pooh that created this. And we had F. Gary Gray that directed it, right? And of course, the original, okay, first one had Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. That just was like a duet that was unmatched, in my opinion. You know, John Witherspoon, may he rest in peace, Clifton Powell, you know, Tiny Liston, Faison Love. I think Regina Hall was in here. I'm so mad I can't remember who played the mother right now, and I don't want to waste too much time. It'll come back to me. But needless to say, this was a classic. And then later, after Friday, we had we had Next Friday, and then we had Friday After Next. And of course, Mike Epps then joined in, you know, on that one. We never got Chris Tucker back. I really wish that we could have had that, like, another one done with all of them. Unfortunately, you had some people that passed away. You had some people that didn't want to come back and work. And so, you know, I think that window has closed on that. But these are definitely cult classics. As far as the original, I could just remember watching this countless times throughout the years, you know, knowing the majority of the words by heart, but it's still feeling fresh and new every single time I would watch it, and noticing something different every time that I watched it. And so that's what makes it just an old school classic favorite for me, and really have a special place in my heart. And so that's number 15. But of course, like I said, you guys, there's so many others besides this. I mean, we could break this down into sci-fi. We could break it into horror. And if we did horrors, you probably would have at least a minimum of 6 movies each, all the way up to probably 13, 14 if you're talking about slasher type of films. We could go into kids' cartoons, okay? Like I said, I don't discriminate. I like all different kinds, you know, sci-fi. Yeah, so it's so many more comics, you know. But just in case you were wondering, Blade Trilogy and Godfather are only not on this list because I've already talked about those in some of my past what you should be watching. So again, if you have not seen those, go check those out. You know, if you want something that's more current to watch, all right, you have plenty to choose from. 25 of these videos that are up, that you could go ahead and you should be able to at least find one, okay? Because that's what I always say. There should be at least one up on each of these videos that one person should be interested in. Also, you guys, don't be shy. Tell me in the comments what you are watching so I can check it out, and I can also share with my other subscribers, all right? And tell me in this video if there are any movie trilogies that you guys like. You know, what do you rank them? What's your favorite to least favorite, your go-to that you be like, yeah, I'm in the mood to watch this, and you feel like you could watch all 3 of them? Put them in the comments, y'all. I want to hear from y'all. All right, let's discuss, okay? And put some, you know, give me a wave, let me know you came by, put some flames up, okay? And like, comment, share, subscribe if you are so inclined. All right, till next time, toodaloo.